We love the feel, the crunch, and of course, the taste. But is there something else at play? Why are potato chips so American? We know there's a science behind our love of potato chips.
Some people say that it's more difficult to stop eating potato chips than stopping smoking.
This is Professor Domingo Pinheiro, a clinical professor at the Department of Nutrition and Food Studies at NYU.
The true potato chip is a very simple compound. It's 3 ingredients: potatoes, oil, and salt.
But Professor Pinheiro explains that one of the reasons we literally can't stop eating potato chips is something called
Hedonic hyperphagia,
which is when you have a drive to eat a certain food, even when you're not hungry. But could the reason why we love potato chips go beyond the chemistry?
That is not really my expertise. My colleague, Jennifer Berg, would probably be the right person to answer that question for you.
When I think of a potato chip, I think of nostalgia, I think of fun, I think of salt, I think of an indulgence.
This is Jennifer Berg. She's also a professor at the Steinert School of Food Studies at NYU.
It's a snack that you could easily eat on the go, and that is very much an American, like a tenet of Americanness.
In fact, many believe that potato chips find their roots in America.
Folklorists believe that potato chips were invented here in the United States, to be more specific in Saratoga, New York, and so there's something very Northeast, puritanical, Americana about potato chips.
But we've taken something as simple as the potato chip,
Potatoes, oil, and salt,
and transformed it into
this billion-dollar industry.
And since their invention in the mid-19th century, potato chips spread across the country with the efficiency of the American ideal of
manifest destiny. In a very short period of time, we just had this incredible expansion. I think it was like the gobbling up of more land.
As our country's population grew, we needed more food and fast.
We started to become much more reliant on industrial and processed food.
And this processed food allowed us to indulge our love of binging.
We binge watch TV, we binge read, we binge exercise, we binge diet, we binge eating potato chips.
And potato chips allowed us to do something else, quintessentially American. Because not only do we binge eat them, we also
fancy them. We elevate them, we make them more special. So it's this totally egalitarian food on one level, but on another side of it is it isn't. And so by adding truffles to potato chips, by adding imported sea salt, by frying it in different oils, by adding different seasonings, and the stores that it's sold in, and the language that's used on labels, handcrafted, artisan, fresh from farm. Once we put in that other language, we have taken something as simple and pedestrian and as egalitarian and as inexpensive as a lowly potato chip. And we've made it into something super luxurious and super elitist in a moral sense.
The ability to see food through a moral framework is also uniquely American.
The United States, one of our earliest cultures, was, as a puritanical country, and morality was integral to early parts culturally in the United States. And we see this today with food choices. If you walk down the street and you're eating a big $2 bag of potato chips, you are a poster for out of control, for gluttony, for embracing industrialized food, for not caring about what goes into your body, for not caring about the environment.
Whereas if your potato chip is
fried in organic olive oil, non-GMO, there is a moral superiority. The food values that were put into the production of the chip, which are incredibly important, somehow get transferred into the consumer of that chip. And so you consuming it means that you have helped the farmer. Like, you haven't gone out on the land, you haven't tilled the soil, you haven't dug out the potato, but you bought the chip. And so you're part of a movement. Wow, that's a pretty incredible thing to be able to do that for $10. And $10, let's face it, is a pretty expensive bag of potato chips.
They do taste delicious, though.